Good morning and welcome to the Saturday special of my live comments. I've often seen parents telling their children when they grow up, in their teens or even after their teens, what are you doing? And the response is, I'm reading a story or I'm reading a novel. And immediately comes the reprimand, you are not a kid, the stories are not meant for you. Little do they know that the stories, especially the fairy tales, are meant for all. They are not meant only for the kids for which them they are, but for the teenagers, for the pre-teens, for the post-teens, for the adults, even for people of my age, or maybe even elder than I am. For as long as we have been able to speak and stand upright, we have been telling stories, we have told stories, and we shall keep on telling stories. And there are people who shall keep on hearing them. These are the stories that explain the mystery of the world, the birth, the death, the seasons, the days, and the nights. They are the origin of human creativity. And this creativity was expressed in words as well as in pictures. You see the cave paintings of Ellora, Ajanta, or Chauvet in France, or Maros in Indonesia. On the walls of these caves, the paintings, which date back around 30 to 40,000 before Christ, tell us the myths or the sacred narratives of the spirit of the land, the fauna of the regions, and the humankind's relationship to them. They are an expression of wonder, and wonder is a source of creativity. And if creativity is needed everywhere, how can you forbid fairy tales to the adults? As human beings progressed, there was a development of the stories. These were not meant with the mysteries of life, but with everyday domestic matters. While they were more mundane in the issues they explored, the tales were not in any way less spectacular in their creativity and inclusion of the supernatural. The creativity always remained the smaller, everyday stories, combining the word of the humans and the fantastical creatures. Seemingly impossible plots are now classified fairy tales or folk tales. And these were the tales in the pre-literate society, told by the parents and the grandparents to the kids. And the fact is that they capture the hopes and the dreams of the humanity. Any girl hearing the story of Cinderella dreams of herself to be a Cinderella and hopes to be one day. There is a certain romance in the girl when she captures the Prince Charming. If you are a princess and you get a prince, there's no charm in that. It's a routine thing. But a poor girl, an orphan, capturing a prince, that is something. As they say, when a dog bites a man, it's not a news. When the man bites a dog, it's a news. So it's a question of being different. And these are the fairy tales that convey message of overcoming adversity, rising from rags to riches, and the benefits of courage. So how do you say adults do not need fairy tales? Fairy tales are so extremely moral in their demarcation between good and evil and right and wrong. They are just as references to the ancient tradition of an eye for eye, limb for limb. Their punishments can be ruthless and complete, originally for adults and sometimes for children, Fairy tales can often be brutal, can often be violent, and laden with taboo. But the earliest recorded versions made by collectors such as Brother Grimm's, the adult content was maintained, and by the time progressed, Christian morality intervened, the tales became diluted, child-friendly, more benign. But the tales in all the countries, all the civilizations, whether you take up Mahabharata and Ramayana, whether you take up Pharaoh's tales in Egypt, whether you take up Maori tales of Australia, you will find the blood-curdling scenes everywhere because that was a part of their living, their everyday existence. When you become child-friendly, you are creating a sort of a cover to protect the child away from the reality of life. But the wonder never ceases. And despite these changes, what happened? The fairy tale still retained. The Jack and the Beanstalk has the same fairy tale, same charm today as it was earlier. And when the old woman brings a hatchet to cut the giant, there is a certain excitement in the youth, and it's there today as well. In a very uncanny, sometimes inexplicable manner, we consciously and unconsciously continue to live those stories despite our ages and despite the advances in logic, science, and technology, because humans remain the same. It is something ingrained in us, something you cannot suppress, that completes us, and that compels us to the world around us through the lens of these tales. If we are not tellers of tales themselves, we are the greedy consumers of those tales. You know, when we talk of the 20th century death of Diana, the Prince of Wales, and we see that she has been cast like a life as a fairy tale. Throughout the years, she was commemorated with articles such as, and the headings of the articles are very interesting: troubled fairy tale, beyond a fairy tale, just another fairy tale. So it became a part of embedding the human emotion seen in an actual person in our time, and there's a connectivity to the fairy tales of the old times. These articles try to deconstruct the familiar narrative, but they were not successful. The Princess Mary of Denmark, Duchess Catherine of Cambridge are all covered by the same thing. Benazir Bhutto, the Princess of the East, or Indira Gandhi, and today Priyanka in India. They are all the actresses, for example. The actresses are the dream staple of the youth today. So, no, let's not go back. Kate, the present Princess of Wales, has been featured in an article, interestingly, Prince William and Duchess Kate's fairy tale love story. Another was Kate's most royal fairy tale gown, even gown. As the titles show, the mandatory Prince Charming, that is Prince William, revealed to be not so charming prince, son of a prince, Charles. And he is shown to be the stumbling block. You know, it has happened all the time. And the formula of the wicked was extended to the Princess Diana's real mother, stepmother, and the wicked witch is Camellia, wife of Prince Charles. It's such a recourse to the fairy tale that a media stunt to tell the stories packaged in easily consumable, gossip-laden snakes snack box. And these fairy tales reflect the deep-seated compulsion of us to tell and listen to the stories. The answers are simple: yes, yes, yes. Let's forget the media for the present. Most fairy tales began thousands of years ago, depending on the age of the tale itself. Beauty and the Beast has its origin in the story of Cupid and Psyche from the Greek novel The Golden Ass, which was written in the 2nd century AD. The stories of Panchtantra are the Buddhist Jatka tales, are again the tales which are there from the gory past and the hoary past, and yet they have immediate connectivity to the people. Referring to the Cupid and Psyche, is a beautiful Psyche is visited at night by invisible lover, hearing only a voice, and she believes it's a monster. Apelles, the writer, says that the story is much older, having its origin in the myth and the ritual. And the same myths and the rituals are in the Jatka tales, are in the Panchtantra. And of course, the myths and the rituals of Ramayana and Mahabharata. The same are in the Sakhis of the gurus of Sikhism. The same is true of the fairy tales of the Maoris in Australia, as I said earlier. The fairy tales are excellent narratives, and it has been unearthed at an early date for Red Riding Hood. And Red Riding Hood's tale dates back to 2000 years. And it did not originate in Asia, it originated in Europe. There were some tales which are connected by a fairy tale character, Dr. Jamie Tehrani. And those tales are as old as 6,000 years old, as are the tales on the subcontinent, are the Indonesian tales, are the African tales. Chia Ahube, the famous Nigerian writer, always used to refer to 10,000 year back old tales in his novels. And the dark unknown has always permeated the lives of the creators. These tales are excellent narratives, and they link a range of human experience. The experience can be joy, it can be disbelief, disappointment, fear, envy, disaster, greed, devastation, lust, grief. All these are staples of all the epics, whether it's Ramayana or Mahabharata, whether it's Iliad or Odyssey, whether it's Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. They are all ingredients of that. And these emotions are provided a form of expression. And the purpose is to shed light not only on our own lives, but the lives of the people beyond our lives, both of the past and of the future. Contrary to the impression that fairy tales end happily ever after, there is much more in them. There is much more power. In the earlier times, during the times of our ancestors, these tales made us realize a sense of unpredictability and randomness. They related familiar experiences of unfairness, misfortune, bad luck, and ill treatment. And all that was overcome by courage, determination, and ingenuity. I referred earlier to Jack and the Beanstalk. It's a chance encounter between a stranger and a young man, and brings about a terrible danger and a terrific good fortune. The tale celebrates how a poor man can overcome a dangerous situation that could have gone either way, but is successful because of bravery and intellect. And now tell me, Doesn't an adult need intellect and bravery and reasoning to be successful today? Fairy tales are celebrations of unexpected fortunes, acts of kindness and heroism. They restore our faith in humanity. This faith, this trust we are losing today. And as adults, we are becoming cynics. It's important to become human being, and that's why we need fairy tales. As tales of the folks and the ordinary people, they not only entertain, but reflect the turmoil and the triumphs of the human beings and enabled us to advance. They are also a means of social criticism. Let's not forget that. When we talk of the poor Cinderella overcoming all the issues and rising up to become the dream of the Prince Charming and meeting him, see how she has risen in the social structure. So it's for the parity, equality of all classes. It's a basic humanity. Until and unless we are able to associate ourselves with the essential humanities, we will never be successful. And that is why the fairy tales were important, are important, shall remain important. They are good to think with, and their retelling sheds light on cultural, societal, and artistic movements. Both children and adults need to read more fairy tales, listen to more fairy tales, both the original versions and the modernized versions. They are our cultural touchstones for enhancing our capabilities as creators and as human beings. And I'm sure you want to be creative. I'm sure you want to be a real human being. I'm sure you want to be authentic. So why not start listening back what we have lost, the art of listening to the fairy tales. The fairy tales we heard from our grandmoms and the grandpops. The fairy tales that sustained us in the childhood, and they'll sustain us in our adulthood all the time. Don't shun them, embrace them. Therein lies your salvation. Thank you.